Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Lord Phantom Reads Creepypasta. Today, we're going to be reading two Teletubbies Creepypasta stories in one. Because when I was reading these stories online, they're even worse than I remember them. So yeah. So let's read these stories, shall we? The first one is called Teletubbies Anger Management. Now you think this would be in a show like SpongeBob, not in a show like Teletubbies. It's a preschooler show. So I don't know why this person's doing this. So yeah, let's get. I'm gonna interrupt the story once in a while because this story has some major problems. So okay, let's start. You may be heard of the original Teletubbies that used to air on most kids' channels around 1997 to 2001. The first sentence is wrong. You may heard of. Okay? It's not you may be heard of. Or that used to air. It's used. Okay? That show caused a lot of popularity, and it even had a reboot from 2015. And now on with new episodes and characters such as the Teletubby babies. But let's get into the topic of how I saw a demented episode of the original Teletubbies. Yeah, I doubt it. I used to be a big fan of Teletubbies when I was little. The show was all colorful and weird, but not as scary as that one episode that had the lion and bear magical event. It was a sunny day and I was in the backyard using the metal detector to find something interesting buried in the soil. Why do all of these Teletubby creepypastas do this? They find something buried in the soil. A more interesting place would have been a garage sale. Or Goodwill even. That's more realistic. You're not going to find a tape buried in the soil. As the dictator detector beeped on a random location, I dug it up with a spade. And my eyes caught up a Teletubbies VHS tape with its casing. Not caught off, it's caught. And my eyes. Okay, this whole paragraph's long. I know, pretty generic. Says some VHS tape buried in the soil. This unknown Teletubbies VHS I found was called Yoga and Other Stories. Okay, the title. All of these letters are supposed to be capitalized, the first letters. Except for the and. That's correct. The VHS cover consisted of the Teletubbies in an orange background, with Tinky Winky waving close to the cover with the other Teletubbies inches away from him. It even had the old school BBFCU rating and BBC logo from 1997 to now on. Okay. This guy is from the UK. So, I understand. So, yeah. On the back of the cover, the episodes were Yoga, Naughty Soap, Apple Pie, and one unheard episode with a strange title called Anger Management. Okay, so it's about how to let out anger? I thought pretty interesting. Pretty interested to see it. Okay, that after the comma there, you could get rid of that and just put a period after the thought. So yeah. I rushed towards my room and put it into my VCR. VCR. The logos promos in the first 3 episodes were normal, but the last episode was shocking and messed up to see. It started with the normal theme song, but the scene with the voice trumpet rises is different. Instead of saying where have the Teletubbies gone, it said this. There's 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Okay, I learned this in high school. Yeah, that's how grief fucking works. Okay? This is anger management. We're not learning about the 5 stages of grief. Okay? I'm not insulting you. You should have done a better job. Okay then, what is going on? I questioned myself, feeling curious and weirded out. Okay, that's correct. It was out of the ordinary for the voice trumpet to say that. No shit. It cuts to Tinky Winky walking down the grassy hills with flowers in a depressed manner. I don't know what was his deal, but I continued forward. Maybe he's depressed. Okay, you get depression. Wait a minute, everybody gets depression. Okay, moving on. Tinky Winky then sat on the grass and began to cry. And begins to cry for some unknown reason. It didn't sound anything usual at all. It wasn't in a cartoonish way, but it sounds like he was actually in a feeling of true sorrow, probably realistic. Okay, you fucking moron. It's live action. The show is live action. It's not a cartoon. A cartoon is clearly animated. Okay? I'm not trying to insult you. You just need to come out with a better reason next time. The environment around him was almost dark and depressing, as it was a cold day, a cloudy day. Tinky Winky is very upset today, the narrator concluded. It then only worsened. His crying was more pain, and he was banging one of his fists on the grass in true anger and depression. This isn't the usual Teletubby norm at all. No other Teletubby came to comfort Tinky Winky as his behavior worsened in the scene. Why was he upset? I questioned curiously. What did they ever do to him? I don't know. Later on, the windmill began spinning, preparing for a TV event. Tinky Winky stopped crying in his brutally depressed attitude and said, "Uh-oh," in his usual normal tone. That's not uh-oh, it's eh-oh. Okay? He ran towards where the other Teletubbies are at. Wawa was chosen for the TV event. Okay, it's supposed to be where the other Teletubbies are at. Okay? That's why you check your grammar first. The TV event was oddly cynical and dark for a preschooler show. It consisted of a depressed little boy watching TV in the living room, with his parents realistically and loudly arguing in the kitchen for some reason. They were talking about how their marriage became a failure, then the boy had nothing to do but harm himself in front of his parents. The boy then ran to the kitchen and screamed so loud it was known to cause damage to my hearing. Okay, that sentence makes no sense. I covered my ears as it went on. As I uncovered after he screaming, I noticed some blood on the palm of my hands. Dang it, I yelled angrily. That scream for that kid got me killed. No, that's not how that's not how death works. You don't wave it off. Okay. The boy was throwing a fit of rage, telling his parents to shut up and other things. This kind of action for a kid was out of the ordinary and way too violent. I heard that of I heard of that one episode of Caillou where the main character Caillou throws a tantrum wanting to go to the circus right now. That tantrum was not as bad as this one I was watching. The boy attempted to beat his parents for this behavior, but obviously that did not work. But the mother, however, grabbed a ladder and he was flailing around screaming, still threatening his parents. The act was too real. Was all too real. He was then put in his room and the mother told him he'll never come out until his behavior changes. Okay, this episode had something to do with anger management, huh? I thought to myself. Then the TV event ended. The Tubbies seemed very worried about what had happened in that TV event. If I was them, I would be worried too. The, the boy's parents in that event are assholes. If I were the dad, I would be saying, we need to get that kid to therapy. That's a logical conclusion. Putting him in his room is gonna do jack shit. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, let's get through the rest of this episode before I blow another gasket. It cuts to the second Tubby segment where the Teletubbies were at their house having Tubby custard. They enjoyed it except for Tinky Winky. He was still not in the mood to drink his Tubby custard. Wawa walked up to him and asked why Tinky Winky not drinking Tubby custard. Tinky Winky's not in a good mood, Wawa, the narrator answered. Then Tinky Winky in a fit of rage hit Wawa in the head with the Tubby custard, causing it to break and spill all over her. Why, Tinky Winky? Dipsy shouted in shock. Uh-oh! Po said worriedly. Tinky Winky sad, Tinky Winky mad. Tinky Winky snapped as he runs away from the house, crying realistically. It's live action. Seems like that Tinky Winky snapped, the narrator concluded. Wawa got up pretty injured and asked why Tinky Winky snapped. I don't know, Wawa, the narrator answered. They got out of the house to find Tinky Winky, which turned out unsuccessful. The environment is still dark and depressing. The search goes on and I'm starting to feel bored. Finally, one Teletubby, Dipsy, found Tinky Winky in the forest facing away. Dipsy found Tinky Winky, Dipsy said. Yes, Dipsy found Tinky Winky, the narrator said. Tinky Winky okay? Dipsy said curiously as it cut to a point of view of him. As Dipsy tapped Tinky Winky, what I saw scared the crap out of me as he turned to face the ladder. Tinky Winky's face looked unusually horrifying. His skin was white as a snowman and his face resembled that of a demonic human being with black holes for eyes, and his mouth open like he was screaming, exposing pink gums, white teeth, and a black tongue inside of it. He looked like if he was possessed. I was not ready for this scene to happen. Tinky Winky just let out a wild, blood-curdling scream as he looked like that. It wasn't his voice screaming like in the Lion and Bear episode. It sounded like a woman scream like in one of those horror movies. I covered my ears again, even though they were still bleeding, but I'm still okay. For some reason. Dipsy screamed in fright and runs off towards his friends. Then Tinky Winky started chasing Dipsy, still screaming. It cuts to the other Teletubbies searching for Tinky Winky, but it turned out it's still no good. Dipsy ran into the screen and told the two Tubbies that Tinky Winky was insane and no longer his happy self. Then the now demonic Tinky Winky appeared and ran towards the three Teletubbies. He lets out that same blood-curdling scream from before as he just appeared behind the three Tubbies. The Tubby, except for Po, ran away screaming realistically. Oh, for God's sake. This is not a horror film. I know this is supposed to be a creepypasta, but this is unrealistic for the show. Okay? So let's move on. Po was grabbed by Tinky Winky by her leg and drags her towards the tree. The tree looks similar to the magic tree from that episode called Lambs, except it was a computer generated, but a realistic proportion of it. On that tree was a noose that came out of nowhere. Is Tinky Winky gonna hang Poe? Poe was flying around as Tinky Winky uses the noose and hangs a ladder with it as she coughs up blood from her mouth while screaming in pain. Poe then died. Stop, stop, stop. That is going way too far. Okay. When you have a creepypasta that says anger management, I was hoping that they would learn some coping mechanisms. Not Tinky Winky slaughtering his friends. Okay? I'm gonna continue the story. It cuts to Dipsy and Wawa running and screaming in fear as the demonic Tinky Winky appeared behind them, letting out that same blood-curdling scream. Wawa slips over a puddle that was there for some strange reason, and the Tinky Winky grabs Wawa by her legs and pins her to the ground. He then stabs her in the chest with a thick but sharp, pointy stick, and she grunts in agony. Wawa then died. Do you see what's wrong with this story already? No? I'll keep reading. It cuts to Dipsy running into the house, trying not to be found by the deranged Tinky Winky, who went on a murder spree. He hid behind one of the beds. The demented Tinky Winky once into the house, laying out that scream again. The Nunu appeared behind Tinky Winky, disturbing him. He then kicked the Nunu so hard that it started to malfunction and run around in circles like crazy. Tinky Winky found Dipsy hiding behind one of the beds and grabs and pins the ladder to the floor and strongly and graphically pulls his head off from his body. Dipsy then died. Okay, Offer. You really need to get to therapy yourself. 'Cause this is ridiculous. Either that or you're a horror fan. Because if you are, this isn't the right way to do it. You talk with a therapist. Tinky Winky then pulled up a box of matches and gasoline that came out of nowhere. He pulls the gasoline everywhere, lifts one of the matches up and throws it where it spills from the gasoline left off. Then the entirety of the house catches fire as Tinky Winky escapes. Cuts to the sun baby. She starts crying at the disaster that happened to the Teletubbies. The way the baby cries has seen death in her eyes. It was all too real to be a spoof, thinking that it was a good idea to make him release this onto a VHS tape. Or even on DVD for that matter. Cuts to the Teletubby bye segment where the voice trumpet rises. Instead of saying time for Teletubby bye bye 3 times, it said this: Tinky Winky has lost it now. There's nothing that we can do. It then cuts to the credits where the Teletubbies house is on fire. All the Teletubbies were dead except for Tinky Winky since he became a demonic entity who killed them all and lurks around Teletubby land. The ending theme, however, was in the slow and unnerving post-straight filter, giving it a nightmarish atmosphere. The sun baby was still crying before she sets while the credits roll. After it ended, it showed the Ragdoll and BBC logo, but the performer was grayscaled and dark, and what was behind the latter had a dark red glow. When the 1997 BBC closing logo played, it was solarized and had an unnerving red filter over it. Ooh. And even the music had a deep demonic harmony filter with reverb over it. It then cut to black. I always wanted to see something unusual during the few minutes of a black screen. Unfortunately, it did. I was jump scared by the same demonic Tinky Winky face with that same screaming sound. As frightened, I rewound the tape as my mom arrived from shopping. I told her about the messed up Teletubbies tape with its innocent cover I found. I showed her the footage and she believed me. Yeah, then I would be wondering, where did you get that from? Yeah. The only evidence I was showing you were the screenshots of that snuff episode before my mom burned the tape of its casing. I think this episode took place on how it happened from a Slender parody horror game called Slendytubbies. In fact, it did! I think this episode took place in how it happened from a Slender parody horror game. Oh yeah. I had a nightmare when I was in Tubby landed at night, with the three Teletubbies dead and the house still on fire, and the mock Tinky Winky was also around here lurking. I was a white individual Teletubby trying to find bowls of Tubby custards lying around until I was caught by the deranged Tinky Winky, letting out that same wild, blood-curdling scream. As he finally killed me, I woke up screaming, waking up my mom for comfort and help. I was taken to therapy after that horrible experience. Who would make such a heinous snuff episode of one of those shows made for preschoolers and children alike? We don't know, but the questions inside my head remain unanswered. The making of the episode was still a mystery. Oh my god. That episode is so fucking bad. It's not as bad as Mario, but it's fucking close. I'm giving this shitty episode a 1 out of 10. Yeah. A 1 out of 10. The story was fucking horrendous. It makes you wonder if you're going insane. And this unfortunately bad story has a fucking sequel. And it is so bad, it is technically worse. So I'm gonna split this into 2 videos instead. So yeah. See you guys next time for Teletubbies The Aftermath. And anger management should have been about coping mechanisms. Not this stupid killing people. It's not a slasher film. Okay, so see you guys next time.